In a remote corner of Spain, far from major cities, highways, and headlines, a man vanished without a trace. There were no signs of a struggle, no witnesses, no obvious explanation. Days passed, then weeks, then months. For investigators, it became the kind of case that slowly fades into the background, unresolved, unanswered, and quietly forgotten. Until something unexpected surfaced. Not a confession, not a tip from a neighbor, not a breakthrough from forensic science, but a single image. An image captured unintentionally by a Google Maps Street View camera. This is the story of how a routine technology update helped unravel a murder, and how an ordinary village street became the key to solving a crime no one saw happen. Tajuco is a small village in the province of Soria, within Spain's Castile and Leon region. It is the kind of place most people never visit and never hear about. With a population of roughly 50 residents, Tajuco is quiet even by rural standards. There are no crowds, no nightlife, no anonymity. Life here moves slowly. Neighbors recognize every car that passes through. Strangers stand out immediately, and routines rarely change. In towns like this, serious crime is almost unheard of. When something happens, everyone knows, or at least believes they would. That sense of familiarity creates a false comfort, the idea that nothing truly bad could go unnoticed. But in late 2023, that assumption was tested, because one man disappeared, and nobody saw how or why. The missing man was Jorge Luis Perez, a 33-year-old Cuban national living in Spain. Jorge was known to keep in contact with his family, particularly his cousin. So when messages suddenly stopped coming, concern began to grow. Then messages appeared again, but they didn't sound right. Texts sent from Jorge's phone claimed he had met a woman, that he was leaving Spain, that he would no longer be using the same phone number. To anyone unfamiliar with him, the explanation might have seemed reasonable. But to his family, something felt wrong. The tone was unusual, the timing made little sense, and the sudden disappearance did not match Jorge's past behavior. Weeks passed with no direct contact. Eventually, his cousin contacted police. In November 2023, Jorge Luis Perez was officially reported missing. At the time, investigators had very little to work with. No confirmed crime scene, no physical evidence, no clear suspect. Just a man who had seemingly vanished. Police began a standard missing person investigation. They retraced Jorge's last known movements, interviewed people he had been in contact with, looked into relationships, finances, and travel history. But Tajuco yielded few answers. No one reported seeing anything unusual. No neighbors recalled suspicious activity. There were no eyewitnesses to point investigators in a clear direction. Without a body, authorities could not confirm a crime had even occurred. As months passed, the case stalled. Leads dried up. Searches produced nothing, and Jorge's disappearance slowly became another unresolved file. Until nearly a year later, when chance intervened. In October 2024, Google Maps performed a routine update of Street View imagery in the region. Street View cars periodically drive through towns to refresh images, sometimes years apart. In Tajuco's case, the last update had been more than 15 years earlier. The Google car moved slowly through the village, its cameras recording everything in view: streets, buildings, parked vehicles. Nothing unusual stood out at first, but in one frame, captured on Calle del Norte, something was quietly documented. A man stands beside a red Rover. He appears to be leaning into the open trunk, lowering a large white plastic bag inside. At a glance, the scene looks ordinary, like trash disposal or moving supplies. But another frame soon follows. The same man, wearing similar clothing, is pushing a wheelbarrow. Inside it is a bulky, white-wrapped bundle. Individually, the images seem harmless. Together and in context, they would become critical. Weeks later, investigators revisiting Jorge's disappearance began examining digital records more closely. That's when someone noticed the Google Street View images. The timing of the images aligned with the period when Jorge's phone activity abruptly ended. The location matched an area where he had last been seen, and the man in the image was not a stranger. Police identified him as Manuel Isla Gallardo, a 48-year-old local resident. In Tajuco, Manuel was known by a nickname, El Lobo de Tajuco. Investigators seized the red rover seen in the image. They confirmed ownership, analyzed movements, and began connecting dots that had previously seemed unrelated. What had once been speculation now had a visual reference. For the first time in months, the case had direction. With a suspect identified, police expanded the investigation. They analyzed phone data, message histories, and location records. Not only from Manuel Isla Gallardo, but also from Jorge's former partner. Authorities uncovered communications that raised serious concerns. Conversations intercepted through wiretaps suggested coordination. References were made that did not align with an innocent explanation. Investigators began to believe Jorge had traveled to the area to confront or reconnect with his former partner. Instead, something went wrong. But belief alone was not enough. Police still needed physical proof. On December 11, 2024, nearly 1 year after Jorge disappeared, investigators searched a remote cemetery in the nearby hamlet of Andaluz. The location was isolated, far from main roads and daily activity. There, officers made a grim discovery: human remains. Not a complete body, but a torso, buried and decomposed. Forensic testing confirmed what investigators already suspected. The remains belonged to Jorge Luis Perez. The missing person case was now officially a homicide investigation. Evidence suggested Jorge had been killed, dismembered, and hidden in an attempt to conceal the crime. A month earlier, on November 12, 2024, police had already acted. 2 individuals were arrested: Jorge's former partner and Manuel Isla Gallardo, the man captured in the Google Maps images. According to investigators, a love triangle played a central role in the events leading up to Jorge's death. Jorge had traveled to the area seeking answers. Instead, he was killed by people he trusted. Both suspects remain in custody as the investigation continues under a judge's order. Google Maps did not solve this crime on its own, but it became something unexpected: a silent, impartial witness. Street view cameras do not choose what they record. They don't recognize crimes. They don't understand consequences. They simply document reality. In this case, one ordinary image captured the moment everything changed. What months of investigation could not uncover was revealed by a routine technology update. This case raises unsettling questions. How much of our lives are recorded without our awareness? How many moments pass unnoticed until technology preserves them? And where does privacy end when justice begins? In Tajuco, a village nearly forgotten by the outside world, one accidental image altered the course of an investigation forever. Not because it was intended to, not because anyone planned it, but because it existed. In a world where technology watches silently, sometimes the truth isn't hidden in darkness, it's hiding in plain sight.